Alright, hello everyone. It's Longbaw01 here with some city skylines, early to mid 20th century North American region building. As you can see, this isn't a fresh start. I've already worked on this region city for a while. And let's see, basically, like the title says, it's early mid 20th century. So that means building styles that are fit that. And also, like, when I started, I blew up all the highways that were going around the map, as far as I could anyway, and started from scratch. So for that reason, I use infinite money. So hope you won't hold that against me. This one's kind of more about style in a way than playing the game. I mean, they're still playing the game, but anyway. Couple things to note is that I use a couple mods that change a lot of stuff, like the Rush Hour mod, which makes me have to play the day-night cycle because it uses that. So I know a lot of people turn that off so that it's light all the time. It does make building hard sometimes, but not too bad. Anyway, the other mod that I really use is WG's rebalance mods. So the one that basically does realistic population numbers and utility usage based on real world cities. I think he uses Sydney as his base. So basically that means that any residential building has a more realistic number of people in it, households, and workplaces have a more realistic number of workers. And the utilities, basically more realistic consumption of them. He also has a rebalance mod that affects what citizens or Sims use to travel around the map. So basically, public transportation and cars, higher wealth and older Sims will use more driving, so cars, than lower wealth, younger Sims, they'll use more public transportation, walking, bikes, that sort of thing. So since this isn't a fresh start, I'd like to take you through just a little tour. I'll turn the UI on here. Whoops, there we go. So the first city I started with was, or town, I guess, since basically this is supposed to be, City Skylines treats the whole map as one city, which has its drawbacks when you're trying to do more region building stuff. But anyway, I'm still trying to create towns to start out that turn into cities. Maybe eventually they'll get big enough that they merge into a city proper. But anyway, the first one I started out with was the appropriately named Pilgrim's Point, so that's where everybody landed. And to begin with, they got there mostly by boat, because when you blow up all the highways and outside connections, you can kind of force Sims to come in by boat. Though it didn't work at the beginning, and I had to jumpstart it by building just a temporary national road to the outside connection. So that allowed them to come in, and they were coming in by boat, so then I blew up the national road. And they can also come in by rail. So anyway, we started with Pilgrim's Point. The tourist districts and the beach district, since leisure and tourism is a district specialization, you kind of have to do it that way, which is kind of a pain, honestly. I almost wish there was specific zoning for tourism and leisure, but unfortunately there is not. So anyway, Pilgrim's Point, we'll start there. And let's see here. So you see, it's kind of a town with some farmland, industrial over here. Farmland could probably look a little more natural, not as gritty, but I get kind of anal when I'm laying out streets and stuff, so I don't have to mess with it later. Pete's saying I can do leisure as a zone. Well, I mean, you have to basically zone it commercial and then mark it as leisure. I kind of wish there was just a specific zone type for leisure and tourism, unless I'm wrong, but I think that's the way it works. Honestly, it plays havoc with this mod that I use for districts and services. I'll give you an example over here. Cut my tour for a minute. So this place, you see the zone here, or district. This high school right here wasn't getting trash and police coverage. And the reason for that is I use a mod that restricts services to the district that they're in. And yeah, hi Pete, I enjoy your stream and kind of help me want to do this, and I enjoy yours a lot, and I'll probably watch it in the future as well. And thanks for stopping by. But anyway, so this high school wasn't getting trash and police coverage, and stupid me, the reason was that I left it out of the district, because I use this mod that restricts services to districts. The reason I use that mod is because if you don't have it, districts, services, they'll go across the map, their vehicles, to do their stuff, which then is a drawback for the area that it's supposed to be in. So this mod basically restricts the services to the districts that they're in. If you leave the services outside of a district, totally, they'll service anything on the map. The problem was that this high school, I had forgotten to draw it into the district, so it wasn't getting any trash and police coverage. Whoops. Anyway, I fixed that. So anyway, on with the tour. So, Pilgrim's Point, basically, let's see here. This is its commercial, because I know it seems like not a lot of commercial for that area. The main reason for that is it's partly the rush hour mod and partly the WG mods. Kind of changes the way demand works. So demand for residential and industrial is kind of way smaller than residential because of the numbers. You have to have a certain amount of unemployment percentage and a certain amount of open or taken commercial and industrial jobs to have any demand for those. So, of course, this tourism district is also commercial, so that fills up some of the demand. The rush hour mod also increases parking lot use, so I actually do use parking lots, and I'll be using parking structures eventually. So, like, this is parking lot, and these are all assets from the workshop, and these parking lots. And they'll park in the street if there isn't any parking spots available. But some places have restricted parking lot or parking on the street. So anyway, tourism district. The hotels are kind of out of place, but the reason I've kept them in is because there's no smaller looking hotels. And with the rush hour mod, Sims, out of town Sims who are tourists, they will actually, if it's gotten later into the day, they will stay at a hotel and then keep touristing, that's not a word, the next morning. So that's why I've left them in. So that's the tourist district. This is a smaller ferry station than the regular one, also an asset from the workshop. And some other stuff like the restaurant on a pier. I believe that is the marina with the messed up water level, but if I make it any higher, things will flood. And fishing pier and the lighthouse, and those get a lot of traffic. So anyway, on to stuff here. We'll turn on zones for a second here. There is one office here that I put in. Not a lot of demand for more than that at the moment. And you can see I've also slowly started making high density. The rest is still low, and this is pretty much the only high density in the entire region. Though I'm probably going to be making some more since, as you can see, residential demand is full. Alright, and then we go on farther here. And we got some services here. We got the train station. I have no idea why the trains are all glowing. That seems to have happened recently. Not sure if it's the new patch or something. I mean, they are workshop assets, so they tend to get messed up sometimes. And this train station is also an asset off the workshop. It's called the Union Station, based off one in Kansas City in the U.S., and it's kind of more old-style looking. So anyway, that's kind of the main train station for the whole region and also Pilgrim's Point. We got the farmland up here. These are some pretty cool Rico farm assets. Rico's a mod that I'm trying to think of what to call it. Basically, you can plop residential, commercial, industrial buildings and assets like this, and you don't have to wait for them to grow. And they'll have actual stats for workers and households. So that's pretty cool, as opposed to unique buildings on the workshop assets that you plop and they're just like tourist places or visiting places. So anyway, they're pretty cool. He has some bigger ones that there's ones with farmhouses, ones without, And there's also a big one with a farmhouse, but it has some graphical glitchiness when you zoom out. So I have not used that one. This is the industrial area with a cargo harbor or cargo hub. That's what it's called because it has both rail and ships. And some industrial here. I've left the smog on. Maybe I should turn that off. Let's see here. I have a mod called Clouds and Fog Toggler, which basically lets you disable clouds, fog, edge fog, industrial smog. Alright, so that's a little better view. This is Gula, who has made a bunch of great assets even since the beginning of the game. This is his coal plant, which is kind of more old style looking. And some industrial buildings. I use a building theme manager, so basically everything is in an early American theme I've made, and it took me a while to put together. This is a ploppable Rico, actually, factory, which is kind of cool. Alright, so Pilgrim's Point is kind of where I started. The next place that I did was Sandytown, which is kind of a beach resort place, since it does have all the beachfront, which is kind of cool. The beachfront has a bike lane going along it and a pedestrian path. There's some empty spots here because of demand and stuff like that. Hopefully that'll fill in. Touristy clubs and stuff. Volleyball court. Another ferry station. Ferries will work intra-city, so you have basically ferries in different parts. The ships won't go from ferry to ferry, but they will surely, let's see, transport people. So it looks, the boats, animated wise, don't go from this station to the other station. But they look like they're coming from the outside, but they will transport people within the entire map. It's kind of weird. I think there's a way to go get around that by using the ship line mod, which lets you create specific lines for ships. Before I get too much farther, I do want to thank Pete for hosting me. I had noticed that earlier, but forgot to say anything. So thanks a lot, Pete. I appreciate it. And let's see. So here in Sandy Point, we also... Wait, not Sandy Point. Sandytown. We also have a jet ski rental, which is kind of in the water, but kind of not. So I don't know how they get the jet skis out there. I guess they push them. You can slide them, so probably it. Anyway, here's the commercial area of Sandytown. Again, not too much. And a rural train station, which is another workshop asset. So you don't have to have a big old train station. I think the capacity is lower on those, but I don't really need that much capacity yet. So, all right, moving on. Well, actually, just to finish this off, there is residential here, high school, schools, garbage dump. Tend to provide every service for every town. There is a national road that I made eventually that is now getting a lot of traffic. Route 161, because the main route is 61. And it connects to the outside over there and splits off here with the spur route to Sandytown and then continue with the main route. There is a cool mod called, let's see, Marker Route, which lets you mark routes like you see and also put in highway signs. So as you can see, if you keep to the right, you'll go outbound. If you stay on here, you'll meet up with 61 in Pilgrim's Point. And by the way, this first person thing is, I believe, the enhanced zoom continued mod, as opposed to one of the older first person. So let's see, if you're coming from the outside, you obviously take the spur route to Sandytown on the left, or continue on the right for Pilgrim's Point. And we'll look at the opposite side of this. And you can see if you go straight, outbound, take a right, very sharp right, Sandytown. I've tried to make the grades on bridges and roads, you know, more realistic. This is, whoa, that didn't work. But anyway, I've tried to make the grades more realistic for stuff like roads and train tracks and stuff like that. So, let's see, we'll zoom out here, go over here. You can see this grade for this is fairly smooth until it gets flat. Same with over here. There's more highway signs over here and stuff, but I don't have to show you all of that. So anyway, continuing on, we'll go to the next place I made, which was Lakeville. Lakeville was kind of just because I needed some more residential And I didn't want to do too much high density in Pilgrim's Point yet. But it's a nice area. It's kind of far away too, so that was a point. And it's between these two nice little lakes. I figured the residential will be all around the lakes eventually, because people like living on a lake. Don't mind this station over here. It's a train station. You see the Asset Workshop train stations, they're all local only. They can't do outside traffic, so to get them to work with outside traffic, you have to have at least one normal outside or one normal vanilla train station that accepts outside traffic. And I don't really, I know it's not very realistic, it's kind of a hack, but I put a road in front of it, and it obviously is always going to have police trash issues. Hopefully it never catches on fire. That's going to be a problem. But police traffic issues because it's not really connected. It's only connected by rail. So anyway, Lakeville, it has its own little rural train station here. Little commercial area here and services. Residential. What's that? That is, the elementary school. High school. And this is the highest point in the town. So I put some castle ruins here at the top, kind of just to look cool, but also to remind me that that's the highest point, because I may want to put something there later. And I've already pre-planned some roads and stuff, of course. This is going to be industrial area over here. That's why there's a cargo train station, which is a workshop asset, again, because it's smaller and fits in more. Garbage dumps over here. Let's see here. This place is connected. Is it connected by a road? Yeah. The National Road goes this way, all the way to Pilgrim's Point in Sandytown. The rail goes this way. I've tried to conform the rail, especially to highs and lows, to make it look more natural. And, in real life, people who are laying out roads and rails, they kind of try not to go over a lot of mountains, hills. They try to work around them because it is more expensive to, go straight through. So anyway, and then finally on our little tour here, and something's on fire and something's without power, but anyway, is Newtown. Now you may think that Newtown is named Newtown because it is the newest town in the region, but that is actually not the case. The case is that I needed a university, and I kind of wanted to start a town that was built around a university, so kind of like a little university town. And this university is named, let's see, Harvard University. And excuse my terrible Boston accent, but that's kind of why it's written Havud. And Harvard University was originally kind of the center of a little town that was outside of Boston. The town now is called Cambridge, Massachusetts. Originally, though, it was called Newtown. So, and spelled with the E at the end of town like that, because that's how they used to spell things. So that's why it's called Newtown. And basically, let's see, I've got the university here, some ploppable Rico apartment buildings, but they're smaller ones that kind of look like dorms. There's not a lot of academic buildings that blend in with the old style university and the style, so it kind of looks like dorms or other buildings in the university. And everything in the town is centered on this square, like a lot of old towns were. So all the road grid is kind of built off of this square. So each corner is going out with a main route. And it's kind of built along this little river here, kind of like the real life Cambridge, which was built along the Charles River, which is the major river that is kind of by Boston. Anytime you see anything Boston, so like Good Will Hunting or stuff like that, movies, TV, you always see the students from Cambridge, Harvard and Yale, or, well, maybe not Yale, that's in Connecticut, but Harvard and MIT, they're rowing along the river. So yeah, that's the Charles River. So anyway, so that's that. Let's take a look here